Hey, this is Rachel from the Life Facilitator, and I am going to do some stamping today. And I have a couple things that I wanted to share that I do um, typically when I'm stamping. So, first off, a little bit of my setup. This here is it's meant to be upright, but I have it turned on its side. I have a couple of my favorite inks in here. If I had no other ink in the world, this is the ink that I would use, which is a VersaFine in the color black. Unks, blacks, unks. I can never say that. So that's what I would use every time, always. Um, these are two of my favorite colored inks, and they're from Studio Calico Color Theory. But then I also really like these little Versa Magic pigment inks as well. And then also in here I have, these are labels, and I sometimes will stamp onto labels of different sizes to get basically to make stickers out of my stamps. And then I have another set of them here. So these are some really small ones you can see there. And that way I can do a whole bunch of stamping all at once, and then just stick them in my planner. That's like one of the things I love the most about stamping is that you can use them forever and ever. And this is one of the ways that I make sure to get the most use out of my stamps. I also keep all of my Cocoa Daisy stamps together in this little container. So I have alphas in here, I have numbers, lots of little Simons. This is from a few years ago. And again, this is like just the great benefit of stamps is that you can stamp in any color, you can stamp multiple times, and yeah, so these are from previous months. And then I have the three stamps that came. This one came in the extra February kit. This came in the Traveler's Notebook memory keeping kit, and this came in the pocket memory keeping kit. So the last thing I use when I'm stamping is I like to stamp on big sticker sheets, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with this. And then I like to have some sort of thing to clean my stamps with. So this is great. You just put a little water on it, and then it cleans your stamps for you. You gotta rub it. A couple of stamp blocks in a bunch of different sizes. And yeah, so the first thing I'm gonna work on today for stamping is I'm gonna make some boxes for my Happy Planner. So what I'll do is I'm gonna stamp, and then I'm going to use my Happy Planner punch to punch the design that I made with the stamps. So stay tuned for that. And here we go with some stamping. I love stamping. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build a pattern using that XO all the way down the page, and I'm going to alternate sort of where the XO goes. Honestly, didn't have like a total vision for how this was going to come out, but it came out better than I anticipated, which is always fun. But what I wanted to say is that one of the things I love about stamping is that you can only get better at it as time, the more you do it. So practice definitely makes progress with stamping, which is why I like doing things like this where I'm making a pattern or I'm repeat stamping, just to get practice and to do it, and so that I can get better at it. And then honestly, like with a pattern like this, if I mess up one stamp, it's not going to make a big difference in the grand scheme of the pattern. I realized that I needed a little more pattern in order to sort of complete the image. And so I'm going back in with the Exo stamp to complete the image. And you're going to see me rub the stamps on the back of my hand. You don't have to do this for these stamps. These are high quality stamps, and so they will stamp perfectly the first time, and they'll stamp perfectly every time. With good ink, I should mention. But I'm in the habit of what's called prepping stamps, and that's when you rub the stamp along the back of your hand just to prep it a little bit and get it, get some of the like packaging chemicals off the stamp. So here I went in and you saw me punch out the boxes so that I could use them in my planner. And I even punched like a half box. And I like doing that too in my memory planner. So now I'm going to do stamped stickers with some like square shaped label stickers. I can't believe how perfectly these label stickers worked with this envelope. But I love this. This is such a great way to really make use of your stamps, especially if you're a sort of on-the-go decorator and you like to have stickers with you. Stamps make that a little difficult because it's hard to stamp on the go. But it is really easy to carry a sheet of stamped stickers. And so here I am stamping a few envelopes. And then this sheet of label stickers has two like longer rectangle stickers, and I'm going to stamp lots of Simons and one Betty across the stamp so that I can trim out the Simons when I want them. So again, stamps are basically, to me, they're like a hoarding buster because you cannot hoard stamps. You can use them, hundreds and hundreds of times and you'll never run out. And so, again, I like to carry some stamped images in my planner so that I can just pull them out and add them to pages whenever I want. I usually carry a pair of scissors too because I'm extra. And so here's me just stamping a few Simons out so that I have them, and I will stick this page in my planner. One thing that does make stamping a little bit more time intensive is cleaning the stamps. And I do clean my stamps every time because if I don't, I know myself and I know that I'll forget, and then that actually makes the stamp less sticky, and so you could lose the stamp. So for me, it's just a habit of clean the stamp every time. And so I'm going to stick this in my planner and save it for later. And then next up, I'm going to do a masking technique. So this is a really great technique if you have either a really big stamp that's going to be bigger than the size of the space that you want to stamp on, or you want to just have part of the stamp on the space that you're stamping. So that's what I'm going to end up doing here. And two things I want to mention is another great thing about stamps. One is that you can always mask them to fit the space that you need, but two, because stamps are flexible, you can actually manipulate the way the stamp actually sits on the stamp block. So what you'll see me do in a second is I'm actually going to curve the stamp a little bit more so that it actually rounds in a way that I like. And you could do this with stickers, I guess, but it's a lot easier to do with stamps. And I will do this again later in the video as well. So here I am. I'm gonna prep the whole stamp. The other thing you could do is just ink up part of the stamp, but I know myself that I will probably ink the wrong thing and then not get as good of an image. So I just go ahead and stamp the whole thing, and the masking page picked up the part that I didn't want. And I'm just going to add a little doodle tie on the other side. I just love how that turned out. And I'm also going to add my box sticker. How cute is that? Oh my gosh, that turned out so cute. And yeah, I just love, I really, stamps are the best because they're just so versatile. I'm going to cut out one of the, no, I'm not. I'm not going to cut anything out right now. Now I'm just looking to see if there's other things I want to stamp on the page, and I decide not to. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to do a big stamped pattern. And what you saw me do there is I stretched out this element, and it was curvy, and I made it straight because that's how I wanted it to be on the page. And again, that's such a great aspect of stamps. You can actually cut stamps too. If a stamp is too long, or it has, if it's a word stamp that you don't need all the words and you can trim up your stamps. They're your stamps, so you can do what you want. I cut stamps all the time. You just got to be a little careful, but otherwise it works really well. So my rhythm at first is not great. I will fix this in a little bit, but this is a basic example of how you would stamp a pattern on a page. So here's me like getting in the groove. Oh yeah. I finally figured out, like, put the stamp in the ink right next to you and then just mask the top and the bottom at the same time. I think the other thing that I love about stamps is that it's like so just satisfying to do something like this, and therapeutic, and also like kind of mindless. Like, you don't need a lot of brain power for this, which is nice. So here's my final sheet, and you could make pocket cards out of this. You could use it as a background. You could punch elements out of it. It's just nice to have this, pattern that you made, which is pretty cool. And so the next thing I'm going to do is stamp directly on the stickers that are in the memory keeping sticker kit. Again, this is a great way to have your stamps with you. All of those cute little elements that are on the stamps, you can just add them directly to your stickers. And this is especially nice, especially for those, like the little circles. Sometimes I have a hard time knowing what to put in those little circles. And the nice thing, there's quite a few stamps that fit really perfectly in those little circles. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm choosing which words I want in those little circles. Yeah, so I'm going to pick those teeny tiny little words, which again, like, what else is going to fit in one of those little circles except for a teeny tiny word, or maybe an icon, but it worked out really well. I really liked. I think I'm going to do this a lot more. Once I like thought of doing this, I was like, oh, I should really just do this every month, because I do struggle a little bit knowing how to use the circle stickers. The other type of stamp that would be great on a label sticker would, of course, be a date stamp, and I definitely have those too. So here I'm going to actually embellish the decorative boxes with stamps. So I'm going to put a little Simon, stamp a little Simon on the decorative box. I'll add a kind of like a title to the decorative box, and then some hearts as well. And I really like how this turned out. It really made this box that just had this really cute little background. Like, I felt like it really made it kind of come to life, which was the goal. And as you can see, I switch back and forth between the big VersaFine ink, black ink and then the mini one. And then I also am switching back and forth between acrylic blocks. This isn't necessary, but it does help you get it helps you manipulate the stamp a little bit better if the stamp is roughly the size of the if the acrylic block is roughly the size of the stamp. I say that, and of course I'm using a stamp here, an acrylic block here that's way too big for the stamp, but that's okay. The other tool that I always have with me when I'm stamping is a towel, because sometimes I will stamp, I'll get a little too aggressive with the stamp and stamp onto the acrylic block, and it's a good idea to have just a kick around towel, just like a towel you don't care about, with you while you're stamping, so that you can wipe the acrylic block so that it doesn't actually stamp that blotch onto your page. Yeah, so I'm doing the same thing here. I'm adding the little hearts to the decorative box and a title. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to use these in my memory planner this month. I think they turned out really cute. And so this wraps up my Stamp With Me video. I'll show some of the end photos here at the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed some stamping techniques, some tips and tricks. And yeah, please like and subscribe. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!